My grandfather was Hu. The Hu family was a well-known landlord in the surrounding area. In the most glorious period, they bought more than 40 houses connected by 3 alleys in the city. During this period, some of them became officials and businessmen, and donated to the grain station and the assistant of the grain transport in the Qing dynasty. There is a saying, wealth does not last for more than 3 generations. This is very reasonable. Even if there are mountains of gold and silver in the family, it cannot withstand the squandering of prodigal descendants. During the Republic of China, when it came to my grandfather's generation, the family began to decline. First, the family was divided, and Hu also got a lot of family property, enough to live a life without worries about food and clothing. But he just refused to learn well. Of course, this was also related to the social environment at that time. First, he indulged in gambling, and then he smoked opium, squandering all his wealth. When Hu was young, he ate, drank, gambled, and smoked all the 5 vices. In the end, he was so poor that he didn't even have a penny. If a person is addicted to smoking, he will feel very uncomfortable, but who lets you smoke if you have no money? In the past, when he was rich, the bosses and waiters in the tobacco shop would call him Mr. Hu and Mr. Hu and treat him attentively and attentively. But once you are penniless, they will treat you as a beggar and coax and drive you away. When a person is poor and crazy, the concepts of integrity and morality are not important. Hu thought of a way to go to his uncle to cheat some money. Hu's uncle knew that he was a prodigal son and a big smoker, and usually refused to give him a penny. But this time Hu lied to his uncle and said that he wanted to marry a wife and asked his uncle to collect some money. When the uncle heard this, he was so moved that he burst into tears. This unfilial nephew finally did something serious. If he married a virtuous wife to take good care of him and win his heart, maybe he would learn to be a good person in the future. So he gave him $20, told him to marry a wife and live a good life, and never touch those longevity creams again. In a few days he would go to Hu's house to see his nephew's wife in person. Hu had the most tricks. In order to deal with his uncle, he went home and found a craftsman in the village who made paper people and paper horses, the kind that are burned for the dead. This paper-making master has great skills. As long as you can name something, he can make it vivid. He made a paper woman for Hu as required, and painted eyebrows, eyes, nose, clothes, and hair on the paper woman with watercolors. From a distance, hey, it really looks like a living person. Hu carried the paper woman home, put it on the heatable brick bed in the inner room, and covered it with a quilt. He thought it was a good idea. When my uncle came a few days later, he said that my wife was sick and lying in bed and couldn't see guests, so he just let him take a look from a distance. Thinking of his pride, he couldn't help humming a little tune and went to the city to smoke opium. A few days later, his uncle came to visit his nephew's wife and bought some flowered cloth snacks. Hu refused according to the pre-prepared words, saying that his wife was not feeling well and could not see guests. He asked his uncle to lift the door curtain at the door and took a look, then put the door curtain down. The uncle was unwilling. "Oh, you kid is like this to deal with your own uncle?" "No, I must see the new daughter-in-law today. If she is sick, I will pay for the doctor to see her." Hu refused to let him see her. The more he tried to stop, the more he seemed to have a problem. The uncle became more suspicious, and the two quarreled. At this time, the door curtain of the inner room was lifted, and a woman came out. She was white and clean, with a big face, a big butt, and small feet. Hugo Hu's heart skipped a beat. "Oh, isn't this the paper figurine I asked someone to paste? How did it come to life?" The woman bowed to her uncle and said that she had not been feeling well recently and had not come out to greet him just now. "Please forgive me for my impoliteness." Now she suddenly felt better and asked her uncle to stay at home for a simple meal today. After saying that, she turned around and went in to cook. Hugo Hu's uncle was overjoyed when he saw this. His nephew's wife was so virtuous and had a good appearance. If my dead sister knew about it, she would be happy to see that his son married such a good wife. The uncle was so happy that he gave Hugo Hu another $10. Hugo Hu was stunned on the spot, feeling flustered. He didn't know whether he should be thankful or afraid. Time passed quickly, and it was night in a blink of an eye. The white paper woman cooked a table of food. His uncle was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth, but Hugo Hu had no appetite. He looked at the woman sitting opposite him and felt sick as if he had eaten a fly. Her face was very white, without any blood color, and the redness on her face was all smeared with rouge. Uncle was old and dim-sighted, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with the woman. After 7 or 8 glasses of old wine, he was drunk. Hugo Hu borrowed a donkey cart and sent him home. On the way back, the more he thought about it, the more scared he felt. He simply didn't go home. He went to the city's brothels to spend the night, and spent all the $10 that his uncle had just given him on drugs and prostitution. In the end, he was kicked out because he had no money to pay the bill. He had nowhere to go and had to bite the bullet and go home. When he got home, he saw that the lights were off in the house, and the white paper woman was lying motionless on his bed, covered with a quilt as if nothing had happened before. Hugo Hu thought, "What if she turned into a living person at night? I might as well burn it clean." He carried the paper woman to the yard, took out the fire starter, and wanted to burn the man. At this time the man suddenly spoke. "You are a heartless person. I helped you with good intentions, but you want to burn me." Hugo Hu was shocked. In the middle of the night, he heard the woman made of white paper continue to say, "I feel sorry for you. Although you eat, drink, gamble, and have sex, your heart is not bad. I want to marry you. Are you willing?" Hugo Hu shook his head desperately and asked the man whether he was a demon or a ghost. The man said, "Of course I am a ghost. I am just temporarily attached to this man. But you poor Korean, don't despise me. I was very rich when I was alive. The gold and silver jewelry buried with me are enough for you to smoke opium for 10 lifetimes. Haven't you heard that a rich dead ghost is 100 times better than a poor dead person?" Hugo Hu was a little tempted when it came to money, because he was so poor recently that he even pawned all his clothes. However, he didn't want to spend money without a life. He had heard the old people talk about female ghosts seducing men. After a while, they sucked all the young energy out of men. Those men who were haunted by ghosts were left with only a skeleton wrapped in dry skin. So he said to the paper woman, "Even if you are really good to me, I can't marry you. After all, we are human and ghosts, and the yin and yang are blocked. Doing so is against the will of heaven." The white paper woman said that since you are so hard-hearted, I won't force you, but you will regret it sooner or later. Remember, if you are really too poor to live, you can come to the deserted graves in Shisan-le-Pew to find me. In the middle of the graveyard is a lonely grave without a tombstone. The coffin inside is where my body is. There are gold, silver, and jewelry in the coffin. As long as you dare to come, you can spend those valuables at will. After that, the paper woman didn't move. Hugo Hu mustered up his courage and lit a fire to burn the paper woman to ashes. Later, he was so poor that he wanted to go to Shisan-le-Pew to dig graves, but he held back in the end and managed to get by borrowing from here and there. 2 years later, he was penniless and finally went to the cemetery. But that's a story for later, so let's not talk about it for now.